Never got Hillary and Bill. The whole thing's so strange.
I think Hillary's going to be vice president for
Gore.
Gore.
No, I don't know.
Keep the.
Now, what about Al Gore? He's a terrible figure.
Keeps the administration going another 8
He's so
years.
undefined that he could probably.
He's a nasty bit of work, you know. He's a nasty bit of work.
Yeah, I don't like
well,
him.
We'll
There's
expect
something.
you to. We'll be reading your articles on him.
I like
He was
Clinton
the first
better
guy.
than him.
Okay, if you say the name Willie Horton, who do you think started, you know, the race baiting on Willie Horton?
Well, it was the Republicans. Wasn't it?
Aha! Political quiz, and you have just failed. Come on, everybody. When did Willie Horton first get aired as a scary black guy used to inflame racial tensions in an American election? And you're all going to say George Bush in
Not Vice President Gore.
It was Vice President Gore in the New York primary in 1988. He was running against Michael Dukakis. You may recall him as the Democratic candidate in 1988. And Al Gore, running in New York, attacked Michael Dukakis, who was governor of Massachusetts at the time, because he had this actually quite civilized parole program. And a horrible newspaper in Massachusetts called the Lawrence Eagle had done a terrible story, race baiting story about Willie Horton, who had been on parole and actually had gone and murdered some poor woman in Maryland. And that paper got the Pulitzer Prize, and Al Gore picked up the story and attacked Dukakis with it. And George Bush took over from Al Gore.
Oh, wow.
You out there, you got it. And Tuli will be getting in touch with you later. Well, years ago when I was in The Voice, there was a week, and I used to get a lot of kooky calls at The Voice. And there was 1 week where the kooky calls just were more and more every day of the week. I said to people, what is going on? Something very strange is happening in America this week. And they grew, and people, they were driving around, they had things on their teeth, they were getting messages in their teeth. Another guy rang and said he kept these planes flying overhead all the time, watching him. I said, where are you? He said, I'm near LaGuardia. And all week long, and at the end of the week, or the end of like 5 days, Hinckley shot Reagan. And it was like I was saying, and right that day I said, you know, people are wigging out. I don't know whether the moon was in.
Well, there are links like that to atmospheric conditions and violence.
Yeah.
And the moon, even the moon, or at least there were claims that have been partially substantiated.
I still believe it.
Well, the most important thing is the astrology columns, I think.
So you didn't exactly answer the question about whether you think you're having an influence with your columns, or...
It's sort of incremental. I think you're there as a sort of presence. You know, I think you just go on and you feel... You kind of keep somewhere along the line, you think you've like edged something into the agenda, or just over the years your voice has kind of maybe pushed things. It's very hard to say. You can get specific things out. Like I remember when the Iraq War was cooking up, the Amnesty International and a human rights group, another one, were very big. Oh, of course, that was the moment when you were trying to foment hatred against Iraq and Saddam Hussein. And they had this story that, endorsed by Amnesty International actually, that the Iraqi brutes had turned 380 Iraqi babies out of their incubators. No, Kuwaiti babies.
Right.
Yeah.
They'd gone into Kuwait, they'd rushed into the hospital, they'd taken the incubators and they'd tossed the babies out onto the floor and watched them die over a period of several hours. I remember reading this classic war atrocity story, like the nuns being raped in Belgium in the First World War. So I called up 3 hospitals, one here, one in LA, and one in Chicago, the most expensive and gloriously equipped hospitals in America, and said, how many incubators have you got? And each of them said, we got about 8.
Wow.
I'm going to close, at least for now. I had a literature professor at Brooklyn College, and he was a communist. His name was Harry Slockar. He wrote a book. It's a classical quote titled, No Voice is Wholly Lost. It's a double-edged book, double-edged sword. So We have 3 minutes left. Would you like to sum up for us the future history of journalism in the world?
The future history of journalism in the world.
Or in the world?
In the world.
Well, and the world would be better, but...
I don't know. On the bright side, I think it is true that when the electronic stuff and the net first cranked up, I was kind of thought it was totally tedious and boring. But I do think it is democratic to the sense that it makes it harder for control by governments of information. It does make it harder, and it makes people get hold of more. As I said earlier, the downside is, of course, a lot of nonsense keeps circulating. That's good. I think the society, at one level, the dominant, the ruling class, is finding it a little harder to keep the tamp things on. One of the encouraging things is when you read polls, most people in America don't pay the slightest attention to received opinion. They actually have not bad views. The more elitist you get, the more awful the views are.
Joe Penner had this wonderful phrase at a 30 comedian. You can't fool me, I'm too ignorant. Norman, you're a buff of the internet and so on. Isn't this like a sort of a rank and file rebellion against any government regulation? Is that going to be, or interference from the capitalists, to coin a phrase? Is that going to stand? Is that going to stand against the forces against them?
I don't really know.
Very good answer.
Very balanced answer. I'd lost a bit of balance in this.
At last, balance and objectivity. I object. That's the objectivity I like.
So that's it. Have we said it?
I think we've got 1 more minute.
1 more minute.
Well, with all those cuts, we've got some more minutes.
Oh, you have?
Some more time. We must have another minute. You're not running out of film, right?
No.
On the bright side, I think there are a bunch of bright sides, actually. I think basically as more of these venues of interest. I mean, the downside, the left, once again, always makes people incredibly miserable. They say that 4 giant conglomerates control world information. That's the one they always like. The Nation's always printing a little chart showing how that it used to be 50 corporations, and now it's...
We want to end with this. This is the Marx we really love, and I'm an anarchist, and I can see good anywhere, all over.
Yeah, that's right. Karl Marx played the guitar. He was a very good bluesman.
Yeah.
A sensitive folks.
Bell-bottom.
He used to sing. He used to sing dirty songs. I'm looking for a song in German, if any of our viewers find it, called Der junge Zimmermann, the young carpenter. It's like one of those, dirty songs based on your trade. So if anyone's out there watching this in Yorkville, old German neighborhood, send it in. You can find us if you really try.
And in case you think he's out of date, the Communist Manifesto has just been republished this spring by Verso Books and is enjoyed an unprecedentedly large sale.
And it's in black and red, the cover, with the correct colors at last.
We can't show it because you can't advertise, but it's a very nice looking little book. That's it. We better leave it with Marx.
All right.
Thank you, Tuli.
Thank you. Come back.